Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best of breed multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, we're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey everyone, Shaune Corbett here, Real Estate Success DFW. Thank you for joining my podcast. Today, we've got a superstar of the business. His name is Don Hobbs. Hey Don, how are you?
I'm good, Shaune. It's good to see you.
Always awesome to see you. We've done a number of events together, and I've known you for a few years. I think you've been around specifically in the training space for real estate agents. I think that's your ultimate value add. And not so much the specifics, but the business systems. I think is that kind of a unique niche space that you've really focused on? Does that sound about right?
I get known for the personal branding and marketing space, which was the explosion of people and the leverage that comes from marketing. And then what it created was two things. One was, the personal development aspect, which is, do I let myself be seen? Do I want to stand out? How do I think of my voice and my pictures on promotion and video and all that stuff? And then the second part, which is systems, because if you're going to do double, triple, quadruple the business, then you got to figure out how to process all that stuff, right? And so we've really had a focus for years on business, but the primary driver was the leverage point called marketing.
So the cool thing is you've been doing this for so long enough, I guess at this point, more than 20 years. Does that sound about right?
More than 20 years.
I know you've got references to Gary Keller, a lot of people that we would all know, and have Jim Rohn. I know he's even before Gary Keller, as far as I remember him back in the 90s. So he's been around for a while too. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But one cool thing about real estate in this period of time is obviously changes are coming faster and faster, just like all technology. Right. But one big thing that happened, and I've heard this kind of expressed before, is if Gary Keller had started Keller Williams, it probably would look more like a cloud-based company, like a EXP or something like that, had he had the internet invented at the time when he started the company. Unfortunately, he didn't, and he had to start with what he had, and he focused on the things that they were really good at, which was, setting up training facilities within their company. There's a real heavy influence there, and then certainly the team-based model and really owning local geographical areas are some of the main things I know he played. Cloud-based models, those aren't as critical as I think maybe the way he set it up. But one of the things that happened is the broker had a lot of, I would say power, but control. They controlled the image, they controlled the splits, they controlled the opportunities in some sense. They would have even control over phone time and some of these words we've never heard before, coming to today's market. But the reason why I bring all that up is because we had this transition. When the internet came out, it put the power in the hands of the buyers and sellers. And when that happened, it took a lot of the power out of the hands of the broker. And I think even more so today, we've seen that evolution beyond brick and mortar over to cloud-based, but we're seeing it move into where agents really have the controlling factor in the market if they want it. The broker doesn't have much controlling factor anymore. So you've been training all this time. How has that really kind of evolved for you? Is it really still about the systems? Is it still really about brand awareness? Do you still focus on a lot of those core things still today?
Yeah, I think, Shaune, it's changed, and I'll amplify what you said and bring us to the present. But if you go back to the earliest days, so I go back quite a ways, longer than 20 years, by the way. Thank you for the compliment, because I told you I started in 18, so I've been around for a few years. So if you go back, the advent of the franchise world, the first franchise wasn't Century 21, but they were the first ones to blow it up. And people in the real estate space, yes, taking floor time, floor duty, if you can imagine all the terms that we used. And then what would happen is they were joining the company so they could wear the gold coat and become part of the number one company in the world. We have the power to move. And it was always about the company brand. And my partner and I came along, and Greg Herter and I built this company really related to one thing. Shaune, unless I call and ask for Shaune by name, you're kind of screwed. I don't care what company you're with. It's like you can be with the biggest company. We're number one. I'm broke, but we're number one. It's like, who cares? And so we came along, and we were the Antichrist. I don't know if that's appropriate to say, but I'm just saying we were the Antichrist as far as these big companies were concerned because we were saying it's not about them, it's about you. And so literally some of the disenfranchisement, if you, I'm not sure if that's the word I'm looking for, but some of that came from our pushing. Remax was a big factor at that time because they were coming out as a brokerage, which was really the entrepreneurs of the world. Like it wasn't about the franchise. It was really about, I got my own business. I know what I'm doing. I'll pay you a fee just for a desk. I'll show up when I want to show up. I don't want to come to meetings. And it became very entrepreneurial. And we were the other side of that going, and here's how you be the entrepreneur that you need to be. And I've said for years that, this is $1 million a year business. It's a 7-figure business, except for the mistakes you make and the things you're not doing. And most of that revolves around business. And the biggest people that win in this real estate business are not realtors who are good real estate people. It's not just contract writing. It's not just knowing listing presentations. Really, like marketers win. How many clients do you have? Do you have people come in your direction? Are they calling and asking for you? By name, by the way. We sat through a YouTube thing 2 days ago. And what was the conversation? I don't have to talk about how much I charge. I don't have to charge. They're not worried about what I'm suggesting the price is. They're calling me and going, dude, I can't believe you're on the phone with me, on the
Right.
Zoom with me. I can't believe you're here. Like, we see your stuff. You're famous. Whatever you do, your magic for me. And that's what a client is saying to you ultimately today. So I think training has changed a lot in the sense that the world of real estate now understands that more and more. And somebody said, well, you guys were the precursor to all marketing that we see today. We probably were, because nobody was talking about the brand of the agent when we started that stuff. And yet some of your viewers might be a Keller Williams person who's learned the 8x8 or heard the story in Ninja Selling, which I've got back here, of the agent that we built that wasn't actually an agent. It was a brand entity that we just created for an agent in Irvine, California. And #1 market share. It's like silly things like that just prove that brand is all that matters for the agent. What it really counts is, am I known, liked, and trusted? And if I am, then people are calling me and saying, come list me. We want to buy a house, come sell us. Right? We want to do business with you. And I
Sure.
think that's really how the game has changed radically over the years.
I want to talk a little bit about that, but before I do that, I always like to do a little bit of background. So one unique aspect about Don is, as most of the time I do interview agents that are doing agent things, Don's actually
Right.
not specifically teaching how to do things, but how to make you better and do better system wise and improve your total performance, either through proper marketing or attracting clients versus having to chase them or different things like that. And we'll get to that in a moment. How did you get involved in real estate specifically? Because you've got some things that connected you back over here.
Yeah, so when I joined early day stuff, 18 years old, I attended a program with Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn, the sports guy, Jim Rohn, the personal development guru. And by the way, I was there at 18. 3 months later, big gawky kid named Tony Robbins shows up in the camp, and we're all selling happily for Jim Rohn. We had a lot of cool people that kind of passed through that system, names that you would know. And ultimately, it came down to I was in the personal development field helping people achieve bigger performance. And then I was there for 8 years, last two, which was as the president of Jim's company. And when his wife wanted to run the company that I was running, I took leave and started a company. It turned out to be this personal branding and marketing focus. We built the largest training in real estate. And actually, as close as we can figure, I've trained just around 2 million realtors all these years. And to add to what you just said, I've never had a license. I've never sold a house except my own properties, but I taught business systems and business training and business, and we just did it in the real estate space. And through Ron's influence and through the stuff I did there, we discovered that a lot of our clients at that time, real estate was really coming into its own and becoming bigger. The realtors were very interested in that. And suddenly I had a big reputation in real estate. So when I started my own company, it was a natural place. And then this subject of personal branding made sense in that industry. And it might not have been other places, but it did in real estate and became kind of I won't say a fad because it became a real thing, but it was for the reason that real estate was exploding and we were there at the right place, right time, and had the right message.
What would you say? We're not obviously going to do a training class today, but what would you say, maybe two or three things that agents can say, if you changed these things, this would make all the difference for you as far as you going from attracting clients versus chasing clients?
Yeah.
What's some good tips that you just seeing your experience, that if you could change this, if you could do this, or if you made this change, this would affect you this way?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that the biggest thing that I notice with agents is they're so busy chasing business that they're doing all things. They go to a training program. Oh, I should do social media. Oh, I should do that. I should, YouTube better than something else. Facebook's old and Instagram's in. I mean, it's like we keep getting dodging into different methodologies instead of looking at the big picture. The big picture is what's the brand you're promoting? Who are you? And most importantly, Shaune, this is probably one of the answers to your question, and that is, do I have a niche market? Who am I really appealing to? Because the one thing we should be clear about is you can't be all things to all people. You cannot appeal to everybody as much as it seems like, wow, I want everybody. They all want homes. What's your niche? What do you get known for? Which then informs your social as to your messaging. It informs your YouTubes as to your messaging. It informs everything. And so probably the number one decision would be stop trying to be everything to everybody and sacrifice the markets you're not going for in favor of the markets you are going for, which would be your niche market. And again, that can be defined by types of people. You might deal with a certain kind of client. You might deal with a type of property, either of those big categories, and we could break it down, but that's not really, we can go deeper if you want.
Yeah, no, I think at a high level for sure. I think most of us want to try to be the track 10,000 at the same time kind of person where I don't
Yeah.
lose any opportunities. They have this perception, well, I don't want to give up something. I don't want to lose something. But if you just focused on the 100 people that talk the way you talk, that respond the way you respond, that understand, life the way you respond or have done, you have that connection on so many different levels. Your conversion rate's incredibly high. And the
Yeah.
reality is, even if I created ads and marketing and just focus on when I'm trying to attract, I'm still going to get things that don't fit in that niche. And you have a choice if you want to
Yeah.
work them or not. They're still going to come, but you don't have to go after everything.
There's one more piece to that whole thing that really is an essential too, and it's called the story. And we have an 8-week program which we put online now, but that program goes into the story. Because again, the story, written story, who are you? Who are you as a human being? Today, people are constantly talking about being authentic. Well, I've been talking about being authentic since 1980 something or other, right? It's like, it's really the story. I love dogs, they love dogs. I mean, I hate to say it simple like that, but it's like, I'm a cyclist, you're a cyclist. I love pickleball. We've got a great connection on that. There are things in our stories that are not about, I joined real estate, got into real estate in 99, or I got into real estate in 2019. I've sold 6 million homes, and that doesn't make me love you more. That's not connectivity, right? It's the story. And when I hear the authentic stories, and of course, that's what we can do now through social, through video, but I think we have to be able to tell that story first in writing. Who am I? What's the story? I can feel comfortable. I'm in a t-shirt today, but I can feel just as comfortable in a tuxedo or in waders in a stream in Montana fly fishing. I feel comfortable in both, but which story am I going to tell based on the target market I'm going for? And that's really what it comes down to, Shaune. So I think a large part of it is we have to define target. Yes, as you said, go more narrow focused. I don't need gazillions of people that barely know me or don't know me. I need a few people, and I'll give you a great example. Give me 2 minutes
Sure,
to do this.
go for it.
So we had a guy that was taking over a marketplace in Philadelphia, and he had listings all over inside city, center city and outside. And through the marketing efforts, we defined him as the condo king, literally the condo king. So now he takes over 2 buildings, the first of which, 1 year after, well, I think we were 3 years with him working on that stuff, 1 year, 53 listings taken in the building, 52 were his listings. So it's the highest market share I've ever heard of in history. So it's an extreme example. Well, of course, then you walk into, let's get a third building. Well, he had buildings that, I think ultimately it was like 6 or 7 different buildings. Now he's bought buildings, converted condos. I mean, it truly is the condo king, got wealthy, built all of this around one niche when everybody else was going, no, I want to have everything. And we had an article written about him in the Realtor Magazine. And one of the things he said is, when you think about how I do business. People knock me for, I don't do these clients' homes. If they've got a home outside of Philly, I don't handle it. I'm the condo guy. And he said, if you think about medical, you don't get a baby doctor doing brain surgery. You don't get a brain surgeon doing foot surgery. You don't get that stuff done that way. You go to specialists. And we don't mind paying more for more expertise, bigger genius, and what we need. And I think that's the problem is realtors are just realtors and they're like, I'm just one of them. Well, the problem is that you just don't have any way to really capture people's attention. And by the way, niche market builds value. Who's more valuable, the neurosurgeon, the GP, MD, general practice guy, right? Which one's got more? Alice and I ruptured my Achilles 2 years ago. Painful. Don't do that. And we're on the way to the hospital. I flew here from Puerto Rico. We did our surgery. We're going back for some stuff and we're going to the hospital. And we drove in the wrong parking lot. And there's the doctor's parking lot. It's a true story. There's the doctor's parking lot. And I remember saying to her, you saw there was a Jeep Grand Cherokee and there was some other pretty average cars. And then there was like a Lamborghini and there was not a Tesla, but there was a Bentley coupe. Anyway, some bad cars. I mean, some really cool cars, right? And I said, so who do you think are the neurosurgeons? Like, well, which ones are they, right? Because you could tell. And you realize that the GPMD trying to be all things to all people, you get a general market, but you don't get the big money market. And what I think we need to define in our own world is who am I going to focus on so much so that I'm going to own that market? And then the methodologies, the social media and which social media and what's the appeal and where are we going to post and how often do we post? All that stuff becomes methodology. But first comes the strategy, which is I have to know who I'm going for and what my story is going to be to them. Who is the authentic me I'm going to present?
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we all should differentiate. How do you identify yourself?
Yeah.
You're going to still get the normal sphere of influence opportunities again, and you'll have the answer. You either say yes or no to them. If you want
Say
to,
yes or no. That's your choice, right?
the objective is to put the offer in
focus.
your opportunity. Yeah, but we're going to focus on one particular client that really makes the most sense for us. And it may not be even that. I mean, the condo king, I'm sure, may not even have lived in a condo, but he
Oh,
knew
he
that.
did. Yeah, for sure. No, he
But you know
did.
what I'm
But you're
saying?
right.
Didn't have to. He just knows he does a lot of that same type of transaction. And imagine having, 52 of 53 listings. You've got every buyer. I mean, you couldn't even control that. I can't even think the amount of intermediaries he probably had.
Well, and think about it, Shaune, no matter what if you were in Philly, you're not, but if you were in Philly and you say, I'm competing with him, I've done some condos, it's like, yeah, but who are you going to call? You or the condo king? It's like, it's obvious. Every time we turn around, he sold another one, sold another one. It's like, who do you go to? The expert. Do I want the guy who's doing his first eye surgery or the one who's doing his, 10,000th, right? I want the expert. And so expertise is partially perception, right? The perception creates the eventuality of the perception becomes that reality. Oh, he's the guy. She's the woman. She really knows that market. She's the only one to call. She knows heritage. They define you through the image that you've built. So anyway, it's a great study. And it's certainly when people get up in the morning, they shouldn't be thinking, where do I get my next deal? They should be thinking, how do I define my target market if I haven't done that? And then how do I get to my target market should be the every waking moment discussion. How do I get to them? Marketing is one of your best leverages.
Yeah, so let's talk about technology a little bit. So we talked about that early, and it talked about the changes it made for brokers having to go from the broker model, which I jokingly always say, don't bother getting a broker license. The root word is broke, right? I mean, that's ultimately don't do it.
Broker and broker.
Maybe 20, 30 years ago when you had control and you had some influence, you could actually make something, but it's not worth it today for sure. There's just too many easier, cheaper, better models that can do everything you can dream of doing for a lot less. There's just not any reason to go there. How has technology affected in your space? I mean, I think your core is still the same. We're going to try to promote and teach people how to niche and market and build themselves. But how do you see technology in your space affecting real estate agents and how they approach this particular space? Because it's changing. I mean, there's AI, there's more information's available to buyers and sellers than ever. What does that look like for you in your conversations with agents?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, again, technology is a little bit, it's a big generic word, but I would say that the internet changed the game entirely. Clearly, there are people that go back far enough to remember that carrying around the MLS book in their arms and all that. I don't think you're one of them, but
I
there's
know a
that.
lot about, I mean, I got my license I started in '03. So yes, at that point,
Yeah,
MLS was still up and running, but it wasn't that long before they were doing books, and you'd have to go to the
right.
office to get the book or carry it around and get the
Have to go to the
key.
office, get the book, right? So the internet changed the game first, and it clearly, I mean, as much as we look at it now, we think I can't even think of what life was like before the internet. It's hard because how much we rely on it. But probably the biggest technology, and by the way, the internet brought up the option for the Facebooks and all the social media strategies of Instagram and YouTube that weren't possible before that time. So that is more methodology. But I think now, if you think about my earlier conversation, focus, story, niche, appeals to those people, right? Probably the coolest thing, and you mentioned that AI is going to dramatically change everything. It is changing it fast. The first year after it came out, I did a whole tour on that and talking about how, and I believe this even more today, that it's not that AI will replace us, it's that people using AI will replace people that aren't. And I'm watching people fall by the wayside so much faster because the internet was an accelerant. This is an accelerant at 10x, 20x, maybe infinity x. I mean, it probably has no limit, but we don't know that yet. From a human point of view, it sounds like, well, it's at least 10x. I mean, it's big. And I think that what it allows us to do is it makes storytelling easier. It makes all of the things we're doing easier. And I don't have to make the decisions on my own. I can say, I was thinking about this niche or this niche. Let's do some assessment of them. I can look at them and go, wow, I like all of them, but this seems like it's got more market share available. This has got more potential for getting there. And of course, you're going to ask the right questions.
Oh,
But I think a lot of our decisions today will be made through that. And of course, the other part of that is your online influence of marketing, your Facebook ads, your YouTube ads, your YouTube as a marketing platform, I mean, we can do so many things today. And by the way, I'm a huge advocate of not Zillow and not buying leads, not doing that. It's your brand that should matter. And when we start getting general leads, and that's what we've done, we didn't buy into technology fast enough, Shaune. And what happened is Zillow came along and Redfin and other companies that were in that lead generation mode. And what they did is use technology to say, we figured it out, guys. Now you're buying our leads. Well, they're your leads, but they're our leads now.
yeah,
And
it's
we
my
gave up
listing.
that
My
right because
listing is creating a lead that I have to pay for from Zillow.
yeah, it's ridiculous because we didn't do what we could have done or should be doing every day. You should never be buying leads ever. It's just as you might as well buy a phone book. Oh, that's right. You can't find a phone book anymore, but you might as well have one, right? Because it's kind of like that. It's that antique of a system. So get yourself in a place where you can do lead generation. We've got all kinds of strategies for doing that.
Well, from your standpoint, right, the paid for lead programs nullifies your branding. You're not really
No,
going to
it
stand.
doesn't.
What I'm saying is, meaning that if you're paying for the lead, then your branding is not as relevant. If your branding is solid in quality, then you don't need to pay for leads. There's no reason to even invest in those spaces,
For
right?
sure. I'll make one more point though on top of what you just said, because that's interesting. If you're even buying leads and putting them into a system, then the question becomes, what's my email campaign and what's the marketing behind that? Because once I've generated a lead out of a phone book, like anybody, hey, you off the street, give me your name and number. I'm putting you in my database. I still have to market to them. Ultimately, it's my marketing plan that's going to make the difference. However, if I get leads through my marketing, through my brand building, then I don't have to do any of that stuff. My credibility is high. My price seems low. They want my expertise. They like me. They already know me, like me, and trust me. Heck, the battle's done, right? I don't even have
Yeah,
to even compete for other people going, we're interviewing 4 or 5 other agents. First of all, if you're in the 4 or 5, congratulations. The bad news is most of the people that are watching this aren't in the 4 or 5.
and if you listen to some of the things that I've focused, my focus is sphere of influence. So we're in the same space.
Yep, love it.
And I don't have a buyer rep meeting PowerPoint. I don't have a listing presentation. I don't have any of those things. if someone calls me and they want to sell or buy, I generally have a pretty high conversion rate because I already have a connection immediately with them. So that makes all the difference for sure, right? You don't have to spend, and I
That's
don't have any cold leads or things that I work. So I definitely am speaking your language for sure. Do you have a
yep.
good, juicy mistake over the last 25, 30 years that you would maybe learn from or share with others that don't do it this way? This is where, or maybe it's in a training you did early on, you realize we're not getting where we want to get to. Can you think of something that maybe took you off track or took someone off track and you realize you needed to reform that?
So many mistakes I've made, Shaune. So I can do my mistakes, which are endless, and I can certainly do mistakes for the agent, but I'll give you a couple of my mistakes. First of all, you need help. You need people outside of you and trying to do everything yourself. And I've tended to be a lone ranger. Now I had a company and we had 150 employees, and I really loved that. I loved having leverage through other people, through other brains. Not being a lone ranger, you got to get people that are experts in the things that you need. When you're saying, I'm not good at social media, find somebody. When you're not good at something, by the way, AI could be the somebody, right? I give 4 points of leverage, and I'll come back to the answer, but I'll give 4 points of leverage. Number one is your personal growth. How big are you in your thinking? How big is your awareness? The same opportunities are in front of you and me and everybody that's listening to this. Some of us see it, some of us don't. Our awareness is a big part of that. Our own personal development. What books have you read? What things are you pouring into? We just got through, or we're just finishing a study of a book called Thinker Toys. Great book about creative thinking. Your personal growth is number one. Number two is going to be systems and processes, structures, and everything that you do more than once should have a system, a process, a structure. It's duplicatable. It's duplicated. I've never been real good at that stuff. That is not my forte. I run off my personality for a long time. It's just I'm likable.
Yep,
But that's not duplicatable and it's not
that's right.
scalable. Third is marketing. Marketing is by far, it's working when you're not. Yesterday or 2 days ago, one of our guys was saying something about the thousands of hours of watch time that they've got on their YouTube channel, which how many presentations would you have to give? I mean, it's
Oh,
like,
for
it's
sure.
just endless leverage. It's working when you're not. You're on vacation. It's still working. You're sleeping. It's still working. They're still watching you. You're sleeping, right? And then the fourth one is people. And of course, in the general world, people's where I didn't make the first moves that I should have made. And eventually I started paying big money for right people. And today I think we can do a lot of that through AI. And by the way, the other term, VA, we have access to total talent through VAs. So I think those are 4 places. Now, if I come back to your question, which was, I think, about the mistakes I've made, anytime you can duplicate yourself, do it. Anytime you're doing something more than once, record a YouTube about how you're doing it. Not a YouTube, sorry, a Zoom about how you're doing it, or a Loom about how
Yeah,
you're doing
boom.
it.
Yeah,
The only way you're going to duplicate you is if I'm doing this thing again, and I'm doing it again, and I'm doing it again. Well, then record the darn thing. So when you get somebody to do that for you, you go, here's what I do. Here's how I do it. I think that for me, I thought my skills were the answer when in fact it was my duplication of my thought process and the skills I could transfer to other people that became my greatest strength. And so, we were filling full rooms full of people at big money. I wasn't doing it all. I mean, I couldn't have done it, right? I couldn't do it and then run over and do the program and send the tickets and all that stuff. Like, we had to do the stuff the way you would do it in business, which is duplicate yourself. So I would say duplication is a big thing. Gary Keller said something to me years ago. We met in '89, originally when I spoke for his first convention. And one thing he said to me is, he said, when I die, my tombstone will say loving father, loving husband, and realtor. He said, I'm nothing more than a realtor. At the time, he had 350 agents. Eventually, they grew to be 170,000 ish.
yeah,
But his point was, I'm just a realtor who learned to sell a lot more houses. And I did it through a lot more people. And that's the leverage, right? So people get in this business like, well, I can't trust people to deliver the way I deliver. Trust me, you're duplicatable. There's nothing you do that can't be duplicated by somebody else. In fact, probably you're not as good as many people. So get over yourself and get to the place where you're duplicating yourself through others. And the more the merrier, because the truth is, today, your ability to affect more people is your ability to collect, bigger paychecks. And so again, are you representing 12 clients a year? 120 clients a year. Maybe you can do that with a small team, like small personal assistant and a TC and maybe a buyer's agent. I see these teams with 12, 15 people. We're doing, 120 transactions. I'm like, why? Why would you go through all that hassle? So
Yeah.
again, think smart, be cautious with your dollars and cents, be smart with the way that you're spending your money. Gary was a big proponent of profit first. In business, sometimes you have to pay before you get back. Good news is today, technology allows us to get back a lot without having to pay a lot. But I think we have to be ready for business to invest in our business. And that would be probably one of the biggest things I would say. People are investing in themselves, and they're not investing in their business. And those are two places you could really help yourself. And I know for me, it was two of my greatest freedoms, but it was also one of my greatest deficits. When I wasn't doing well, that's where it was happening.
Gotcha. That's good. That's good advice. How about this? I always shake things up. I'll take us different directions. So
Sure.
Hobbs is the root word for hobbies. Do you have any good hobbies? I know I'm playing around with you, but do you have any? I always ask this because I think there's extra special connection, and a lot of people don't really have much hobbies. They don't. Now, you mentioned pickleball, you mentioned cycling. So, is that some
Not mine.
spaces? Is that the two that
Yeah.
you really kind of focus
No,
on?
no, cycling was a brainstorm. No, actually, fly fishing has been my passion. But again, you can't do that all the time. You can't do it every place. So, tennis was my game. I ruptured my Achilles. I'm back, and my game of choice now is pickleball. I've golfed. I'm not a great golfer, but I love golf. I certainly love. I've just gotten smitten. I just posted not long ago. I can't believe I love a sport called pickleball. It's ridiculous, but I love it. It's fun. It's easy, and we're just enjoying the social aspect of it. Beyond that, we enjoy the beaches, the mountains. I'm very comfortable in Montana. And of course, Allison just came back from Puerto Rico, but we lived there for 4 years and we love the island lifestyle and all of that. It was a little inconvenient living with some third world type, maybe not third, second world type services. It was a little hard. We're back. We love being back in the Dallas Fort Worth area, but the truth is, those are probably my primary sports. I love basketball. I just grew too short. I get elbows in the face at my level. I get elbows in the face, so I don't even do pickup ball anymore. It's not safe for me. I like all my teeth. So those are my hobbies.
I think most people should have a life sport, if nothing else. Basketball and soccer are not life sports. Football is not a life sport, but tennis can be. My father-in-law
Mhm.
still plays tennis very competitively. Every week
Yep.
he's out there and he's in his late 60s. So tennis can fall into
Pickleball is going
that.
to be my thing, baby. Pickleball is going to be my thing. I think I can do it until I'm 106, which is my planned exit.
And pickleball is certainly going to fall into that category for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Don, any other things you want to leave us with? How do we get a hold of you or connect with you?
Yeah. So social, the real Don Hobbs. You'll find me. I think it's at Don Hobbs now. I believe on my. We got hacked, so my Facebook thing is not as familiar to me. But for the real Don Hobbs on social, you'll
Facebook
find me.
is the Don Hobbs.
The Don Hobbs. Thanks. We had to go with the Don Hobbs instead of Don Hobbs. And then yeah, social on Instagram. You'll find me. It's pretty easy to find me. You can look me up donhobbs.com. We have Expert Partners is really our site that we're just in development on. We're just building out the final pieces to that. So we'll have a lot of cool things there. We've got some training programs and things. I mean, reach out, say hi. I'm not hard to get a hold of. People find it easy to get me on a calendar. I mean, I'm very accessible, and I want to help realtors. It's been my thing for a lot of years. And at this point of our lives, we really love helping agents change their lives. I just talked to a friend of mine before this call. I literally got off that call to this. And, she said, you've changed my entire life. I love that. I appreciate that. It's been an honor. And I think we get a chance to do that still now at a very high level because we're staying very current and, teaching things that matter. Allison's a beast in the business. And between her and I, we're very committed. So find me, touch base. Shaune, I appreciate you even giving me access to play with you guys. I'm going to be at the National Association of Realtors Conference this year in Houston, speaking there. I love that, back on that circuit. And we'll be doing some cool stuff for managers and people that are looking to recruit. I'll be talking about recruiting and culture building. And we do a lot of programs around the DFW area, but usually around the country as well. So let me know how we can support you.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. I appreciate you doing that. Let me close this out. For all of you that tuned in, I appreciate that. My weekly podcast is Real Estate Success DFW with Shaune Corbett, which is me. And I have a new post every single week. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Until next week, have a high performance week. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success DFW. Have a high performance week.